Mike,
Pam,
Mary,
Morgan, Chase, Sawyer,
Sarah,
Scotty,
Angela.
Hello everyone. You've probably heard on the news, or even in the social networks, about George Zimmerman. Now, his trial has come to the forefront of the American media, mainly because of the controversial stand your ground laws. Now, I am in favor of the stand your ground laws, and I'm going to explain why. George Zimmerman's trial took place in Florida, and Florida was the first state to sign the stand your ground legislation into a law. They did so in 2005, 8 years ago. Now today, Florida defines the legislation as a person who is not engaged in an unlawful activity and is attacked in any other place where he or she has a right to be, has no duty to retreat, and has the right to stand his or her ground and meet force with force, including deadly force, if he or she reasonably believes it is necessary to do so, to prevent death or great bodily harm to himself or herself, or another, or to prevent the commission of a forcible felony. Now, I'm going to break that down because that is a lot of words. What it basically says is, if you're in a public place, in a place where you're allowed to be, you aren't doing anything wrong, and you see a person that looks suspicious or is committing a crime, by law, you are entitled to confront that person and ask them to stop what they are doing. If they threaten you or attack you, you are entitled to respond with force, even if it means killing the individual. Now, George Zimmerman isn't the first to have charges brought against him from these laws. I have 5 examples. In November 2007, a Houston area man pulled out a shotgun and killed 2 men whom he suspected of burglarizing his neighbor's home. Joe Horn, a 61-year-old retiree, called 911 and urged the operator to catch these guys, will you? Despite being warned to remain in his home, Horn stated he would shoot. 2 months earlier, the Texas legislature passed a stand your ground law. Horn was not charged. In Louisiana, early this year, a grand jury cleared 21-year-old Byron Thomas after he fired into an SUV filled with teenagers after an alleged marijuana transaction went sour. One of the bullets struck and killed 15-year-old Jamonta Miles. Although the SUV was allegedly driving away when Thomas opened fire, Sheriff Craig Weber said to local media that as far as Thomas knew, someone could have jumped out of the vehicle with a gun. Thomas, said the sheriff, had decided to stand his ground. In March 2012, Bo Morrison was shot and killed by a homeowner in Wisconsin. The homeowner discovered the unarmed 20-year-old on his porch early one morning. According to friends, Morrison was trying to evade police, responding to a noise complaint at a neighboring underage drinking party. The homeowner, thinking Morrison was a burglar, was not charged by the local district attorney. In April, 22-year-old Cordell Jude was shot and killed. Daniel Atkins Jr., a pedestrian who walked in front of Jude's car just as Jude was pointing up to the window of a Taco Bell drive-thru in Arizona. Jude claimed Atkins had waved his arms in the air, wielding what Jude thought was a metal pipe. It was actually a dog leash. Jude shot the 29-year-old Atkins, who was mentally disabled, once in the chest. Police have yet to make an arrest. In January, a judge in Miami tossed out a second-degree murder charge against Grayson Garcia after he chased a suspected burglar for more than a block and stabbed him to death. The judge found Garcia was well within his rights to pursue the victim and demand the return of his property. Now, I would like to say that while I support stand your ground laws, I do not in any way support ending the life of a human being. And with that being said, I want to paint you a picture. Imagine it's 9 o'clock at night and you're walking your dog. You round the corner on your street and you see a suspicious person at your neighbor's house. He looks to be checking the place out and he looks unfamiliar to you. You don't recognize him. You just call out to him and ask him what he's doing, and he appears startled. He fumbles with his words as he tries to answer you and begins to slowly move towards you. You pull out your cell phone and begin to dial 911. The man sees you and he shouts no and begins to run towards you. Before you can dial 911, he starts getting closer. So you reach into your pocket to pull out a knife you had. Before you can get the knife out, the man reaches you, grabs your wrist, knocks the phone out of your hand. You finally free the knife and end up stabbing the man. Now that man later dies in a hospital. And I have a few questions for you. Now, were you defending yourself? Were you acting in self-defense? Did you feel like your life was threatened at that point in time? Now, when this case goes to trial, just the few scratches on your wrist from him grabbing you may not be enough evidence to prove it was self-defense. And if your state does not have a stand your ground law, you could go to jail for manslaughter or possibly even second-degree murder. Now, that is why these laws are so important to this country. Because we as human beings have the right to protect our own lives, the lives of our loved ones, and our property. Now, if you take these laws away from us, it prohibits us from doing all of those things. That's why I urge you to go out and fight to keep these laws, because it is essential to the safety of the citizens of this country. Thank you.